What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the weekly astrology forecast for the week of March 22nd through the 28th of 2021. Brian here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Truly appreciate you all for joining in. If you haven't, please become a member on the website. For $5 a month, you get all the dailies where I go into all these charts much deeper, weekly sun and rising horoscope, as well as a tarot show and a cool community. Well, it's Aries season, so happy birthday to all the Aries out there if you're watching. Truly appreciate that and appreciate your fire. It is a fire time. This is our first full week of Aries here. We have this Exalted Sun. The sun goes through a lot in the winter months. You know, it goes through Capricorn, doesn't do the best. Saturn's home, goes through Aquarius, Saturn, Uranus, it's detriment. Then it comes into Pisces, where we get a little dreamy, where we get to be imaginative and look at the bigger spectrum of everything. And it is those dreams and visions from Pisces season that we spark and put to life and spark the fire for the rest of the year as we are in this new astrological new year. So it's a very powerful time. And with all these planets direct, if there was ever a go time with Mars and the North Node together, it's now. And I would say that as we come through this week, we have Mercury Sq Mars and Mercury Sq the Nodes, which is so interesting because where we had these squares in the past over the last couple months, they were in Taurus and Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius, Mars in Taurus, which is such a different vibe for this square. Where now we have Mars in Gemini, Mercury's home, and we have a Mercury in fall position in Pisces. This is a very confusing moment, and with Mercury Sq the Nodes at the same time this week. There's a lot of action that needs to be taken right now. There's a lot that needs to be started, but it just feels like we're going to have to really get to the bottom of those things that we need to start, take action for, and Mars is trining Saturn to start the week, so it's like we definitely have to get down, go to work for the things that we need to be responsible for and those changes that need to be made in our life without getting so lost in the confusion. There's going to be confusion, and you might feel like you don't know where to put your energy and put, where are you going to act and switch up and what makes the most sense in your environment and where are you going. There can be a lot of these questions that come up, but in the end, you have to trust your instincts. We are in Aries season now, and Aries is very instinctual. It's this animal spirit within us. It just wants to go. It's the warrior, and there's a lot about that warrior, especially with the sun exalted in Aries, the dispositor of Aries being in Gemini with the North Node. Like, we need to be instinctual to act fast, act quick for whatever comes up, and we don't want to second guess ourselves too much this week, where we might have to in the beginning, but there's a responsibility with Saturn in Aquarius, like, no, just figure out the best way for your environment right now and act on that right here, right now. Don't sit here and, waste this time. It's a time to go. It's a time to grow. We've gone through the whole zodiac over the last 12 months. So we have all 12 of these energies. They're now part of our instincts. And I think that that's a beautiful point in Aries here, where we've all gained a year more of wisdom, and it is that wisdom that we can act on instinctually. It's part of us now. It's here. What we learn. A lot happened last year. A lot of wild, crazy. It was interesting, It was a crazy world. Whatever aspect of the world you want to look at, it got crazy in just about every aspect imaginable. You have to have the instincts now to act on your truth. With Mars and the North Node coming together in Gemini, all the information that's come in, you have to act on that. You have to make it make sense for your world, for your mission, and not get lost into the void, not get lost into the stories and the beliefs with that South Node in Sag, which is opposing that Mars. And there's something with Mercury Sq these nodes where you have to make a big decision, and the divine with Pisces and Mercury is calling, but it can feel confusing. And it's like, are you going to miss out on your mission this week to start the new mission, to start whatever it is that's going to be? There's different energy. There's a lot of mutability that we're dealing with, but there's also a lot of cardinal. So it's the start to the changes that are going to make the biggest difference for you in your own environment, in your own life, that are going to be a part of your truth, your own belief system, and ultimately your own value system that makes the most sense to you, especially with Uranus here in Taurus at 8 degrees, which is going to quincunx this full moon on Sunday. And that full moon in Libra is definitely a big energy that we're building up to this week. And the sun will be with Chiron and Venus. So there's this big energy of this healing, of this warrior spirit this week, to act on our instincts, to act for our independence, to be strong, to pioneer a new way forward in your life, in your environment, whatever makes the most sense to just your body, your soul, your warrior spirit. And I think that the warrior spirit will be tested with Chiron, but ultimately it's a big awakening. I think people will really come into their sovereignty on this full moon that we're building up towards, and it's through that power and that empowerment and that drive and that spark that is going to get us through a lot this year. And this whole year, we've already had Saturn square Uranus once. We get it 2 more times. So we're not done with a lot of shaken up sort of structures, a lot of shaken up responsibilities and money and value and people with Saturn in Aquarius and Jupiter in Aquarius, Uranus in Taurus. Our physical world is changing big time, and we have to be strong and comfortable in our own values, in our own skin in many ways. And this is a big week to really find that empowerment and to not question your empowerment, to not go into what other stories are trying to take you. Like, this is really time to tune into whatever the story is that you want to create, that you want to spark into existence for the rest of this year. It's time to hit the ground running for exactly what those are for you. So let's jump into the chart here. So, Exalted Sun in Aries. Venus is right there with it. And, from a helio perspective, this is the sun in between Venus and the Earth. So Venus is in many ways as far away from us as it can be. So there is this filtration system that Venus has to go through the sun to get to us, which in Aries here is very empowering. We need to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with empowerment, whether it's through people, relationships, and it's not about power over one another. It's definitely, surrounding yourself with people who see the power in you, you see the power in them, and there's a common ground. And those are going to be the most illuminating relationships as we come into this year, because it is a year of people. It's a 20-year cycle of people, really, with Jupiter, Saturn, in Aquarius. It comes down to a better way forward for the people, and it also comes down to disconnection and connection. So we definitely have to, I would say, connect to people in our world as we come into this next big cycle. But more, just this week, like we need to connect to people that see the power in ourselves, that see the power in each other. There's definitely like who are you going to pioneer and trailblaze forward with? It's important to lock those down, and by all means we want to have compassion. And Neptune at 21 degrees, we've never even seen Neptune at 21 degrees since the 1850s. So in this third decan of Pisces, which Neptune's going to be at for the next 5 years, this is a Pluto decan. This is a transformative decan. It's spiritual, it's compassionate, it is loving, but there's also the flip side. There's the duality to Pisces. It can be extremely delusional, extremely foggy. We're going to have to understand our truth. And this is one of those weeks where, with Mars North Node getting extremely close and coming together for the whole week, and an exalted sun in Aries with a Venus in Aries, like, it's time to act now for the great relationships, for whatever it is that you want to start with money too. It is a detriment Venus here, but it's firing, it's with the sun. So there's an empowerment if you can step into the things that you ultimately value, whether they're relationships, physical things, jobs, and that's ultimately where the healing is, which is going to build up this whole week coming to Chiron. So I would say Monday is definitely more of an emotional day with the moon here in Cancer, and it's coming off the square on Sunday evening to Venus and the sun. But it's also going to trine over to Neptune, and it's going to come off the trine to Mercury, and it is going to quincunx Jupiter. So it's doing a lot. It is also going to sextile Lilith, which is kind of interesting to throw in the mix. It's an emotional day this Monday, but it's like you really want to find your foundation for the things that you want to start, and you really want to find the compassion really for yourself, because it's going to be an emotional day, but you want to be empowered in the self-love, in the compassion, and try your best to understand where the universe is guiding you. And it's going to come through the intuition very, very powerfully with that trine over to Neptune, and even that trine starting off the day with Mercury. But then it gets a little weird at the same time, because we have Neptune and Jupiter in semi-sextile. We get the quincunx to Jupiter at the very same time. So there is this like understanding emotionally the right connections that are going to open up the right doors and the bigger understanding of things. And it's coming through more intuitive aspects of our life. And with Mercury square Mars, it's very difficult to understand things. It's a falled Mercury. And Mars is there in Mercury's home sign with the North Node. Like, you need to act on something quick and make better decisions. And it's on Aldebaran, so it's like you want to make better decisions for the good side of life, the light energy, the Archangel Michael energy, and not get lost into Antares and South Node, just kind of a dark belief system of whatever you can go into your own story with whatever the world is, whatever the dark is in the world for you. But it's about new energy here with Aries and Gemini and even Taurus. It's about new energy of coming into an environment that you value, that you want to act on. And this is second guess energy, big time. Today and even tomorrow, today being Monday, tomorrow being Tuesday, there's second guess energy of not feeling confident enough to push forward into something different, something new, something exciting, something stimulating that you're being called towards, but you just want to act on your instincts. And with Mars and Saturn in trine to start this week too, seriously, you got to get down to brass tacks for exactly what you want. And I would say that this is a really nice aspect, and it's dealing with people, it's dealing with building something better. And I think that's something better. You don't want to look too far out into the world. South Node Sag, you don't want to look too far out in what all the stories are, what all the beliefs are. You really want to come back into your environment with Mars in Gemini with the North Node to be responsible for the things that you can change, to empower yourself, to start something amazing for yourself. This is absolutely go time. We have all the planets fast and direct with an exalted sun. If it was ever time to make a big choice, this is it. And today's one of those days where you have to be responsible for that choice and not get confused on this Monday. Or it can feel very weird, like you don't understand where your belief truly lies and where you're being guided to ultimately the gift that's going to open up doors and show you more and connect more dots in your life. So it's sensitive on Monday, but it's empowering at the same time. It's definitely a good chart, I would say. Tuesday, we get the Sun and Venus getting closer. So more of that illumination of our self-worth and our self-value, and really stepping into that and being almost a spiritual warrior in a lot of ways for what empowers you to have that strength. We're going to have that moon in Cancer. This is where the moon in Cancer gets a little dicey with the opposition to Pluto. It's big, we have to look at Tuesday as like, okay, it's time to go. It's time to start some things. Mars came off the trine to Saturn, and it's getting closer to that North Node. It's also still squaring Mercury, and Mercury's getting closer to squaring the nodes. So there's a big transformation of the structure and the foundation within ourselves, and you have to kind of step into that. And as that moon ingresses into Leo later in today, it's got to deal with, pulling up on Saturn. But what's great is when we get that moon in Leo, we have a lot of fire. And we haven't seen this much fire in the chart since November. Since November, early December, when we were in Sagittarius season, because that moon is going to trine over to the Sun and Venus, which is extremely empowering. And it's going to get to do that before it gets to Saturn and before it squares Uranus. So before there's this big sort of T-square to Uranus that we're going to see later on Wednesday, this is definitely an empowering day to step into that courage and that foundation that maybe there was something that you had to dive deep within with the Pluto opposing the moon, of a deep dive into your true empowerment. and how you're going to get going on the structures, how you're going to get going for what you want to build for the future. And I think that when you're able to tap into that and then come into that Leo courage with that moon and really take center stage for the aspects that you want to start and the relationships that you want to see blossom, or just overall where you're pioneering and trailblazing this week, Tuesday's a great day for that. And it could feel like a deep dive in the morning, but ultimately I think it was trying to have you go down and grab some of that just extremely powerful life force energy and just be able to explode it out onto the scene for whatever you want, and to have that courage to express it with Mars and the North Node, a moon in Leo with a sun in Venus. Like there is so much warrior spirit to have the courage to have the big conversations with Mars square Mercury square the nodes. Like, don't trick yourself into not feeling empowered. And that's honestly what we might see this week through some sort of outside source, whether it's media or whether it's other people that come into your life that are going to make you question your empowerment and make you question the things you're doing. And this is where you have to be like, no, whatever it is that I'm being called to, I am in it 100%, and I feel it deeply. It's instinctual, it's natural, and it's empowering me to start things in my life. And I'm not going to go back into that old system, that old story, or that old belief. It's all about the new and the light and the overall just the life force and the power to go, to push, to make things happen. Coming to Wednesday, Mercury Day, and we do get Mercury, square the nodes, and Mars still. So it's definitely a kind of a long Mercury square Mars transit in these mutable signs, which is already very, very strange. So between Tuesday and Wednesday, it's like there are big, big questions that we could get lost into when really we've already got the answers. We've already got the answers. They've come through, or we instinctually know we don't want to get lost in the old stories anymore. Time to move forward with power and courage, strength, and have that warrior spirit. Especially as the sun gets closer to Chiron, there's so much healing when we can identify with our power and to not let other people do it for us. Like that's Libra. Like other people, defining for you and asking the question and finding the balance. No, right now is more about you empowering yourself and defining for yourself and asking the questions for yourself. And don't just, you got to kind of focus. There's definitely a focus to this week where it's like there's great things that we can understand and come to realize, especially with Black Moon Lilith and Uranus, but also sextile that Mercury. Like, if you can just find your confidence and your value to just own it and to not let anything take you out of it, you're going to be just fine. But if you're questioning your confidence or your self-worth or your power within yourself, I think that this is one of those days where it gets tricky and you're going to see outside, sources try and take you out of your empowerment, try and make you feel like you're not worthy, like you're not able to build in your own way, or to have that sort of like comfort and stability in life, when really you can have exactly what you want. You just have to be in your truth and be in your own mission and understand that. And that moon's going to oppose Saturn as well. So it's like, this definitely is heavy on the emotional body. And like, it kind of feels like people with Saturn in Aquarius are going to try and crush your sort of ego and how you want to shine through some sort of, Piscean, Neptune, and Pisces media. This is the third and final planet we're going to have for a while square these nodes. So it is like this last step of catching our mind up in many ways and not getting lost in all these things, but somehow channeling our mind into what really makes sense in our environment and acting on those things and having the courage to do that and have the talks and communicate with the right people, with Venus and Aries too, that are on the empowerment with us. People are going to want to play the victim with Sun Chiron. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of wounded identities. And we have to have compassion always. It's, compassion and love and understanding, but this is also a time where you need to really use this healing energy to empower yourself. And it is sort of that, like, I would say with the moon opposed Saturn here in Aquarius and Leo, like, to really empower self, but also, look for the understanding with other people. Like, try and figure out how to make things a win-win situation, but don't give up your sovereignty to do it. Still have compassion, still have love in your heart, still look at both sides of everything, but don't just get taken out by other people and stepping into some old belief. Or, you have to have the courage to stand strong in your truth. And I think Wednesday's a big day for that. And it's very mercurial and hermetic, where we have to see both sides of everything. And that moon's also going to square Uranus and Black Moon Lilith. So Wednesday's a very interesting day where you really have to step into your courage and your value and know what kind of life you want to live, and almost in a way like hold the line for something better. When you're going to see you probably see already everywhere you look, whether it's social media or just media in general, they're telling you what you should value, which that's why Uranus and Taurus doesn't do well. Uranus and Taurus doesn't want to be told to value something. Uranus and Taurus wants to value what it finds unique and amazing and beautiful and comfortable, and it's unique and individuated. And Black Moon Lilith is there backing it up, like, no, I'm not just going to do what I'm told. But we still want to find the balance and the compassion. But it's definitely an electric day with Uranus in that square point with the moon, and it makes this T-square because it's only 2 degrees off Saturn. They're going to be squaring all year, right? So there's a lot about really our values and not losing our shine, still looking at better ways forward, connecting dots and understanding and trying to get to the bottom of what we want to connect to in life and disconnect from, but not by just giving up our own individual values of a better reality, of a better earth. And that's objective and subjective to everybody's individual truth. So I'm not telling anybody what to believe, but believe what you feel called to believe. Believe what you feel is your truth. And it's not about just a one belief system with the South Node in Sag that was squaring Neptune for 5 months over, what was it, August through pretty much, February, January. I mean, that was a long Neptune square the nodes. So there was a lot of confusion and fog about what to believe and what was true. Well, we're starting to see true more, and this is like that last step with Mercury square these nodes to see what's true for what you think is better and how you can bridge that gap with the North Node in Gemini. And there's a lot of empowerment. And the moon's also going to trine over to Chiron. Like it really is the independence and the identity to identify with your strength and not, that's the whole story out in the world, right? Like, oh, you need this to be strong right now. You need to do this to empower yourself, and I'll let you put those dots together as you will. But it's really about your own. What do you identify with? What are your instinctual beliefs? Where's your instinctual values? And I would say with Venus too in Aries, like, you want to be fiery for your values. You don't want to just not define them. Like, that's one thing that Venus and Aries can do is, like, it can define exactly what it wants. It knows what's good, and it's going to go get it for itself. And that's what the sun's trying to bring out too, is like, you got to have the courage to illuminate your identity and your instincts to move in a direction that's going to be better. And this is the time when if you want to start something in life, because you're being called to do it, start it. Wednesday is one of those days where it's going to trick you. It's going to try and trick you into thinking like you can't start the things you want to start. You can. You definitely can. Thursday is Jupiter Day, of course. We have the Sun and Venus. This is actually the day that they make their exact conjunction from Earth's point of view. So it's definitely a day of relationships being brought up heavily, money, values. There's going to be an illumination of the things that you need to act for, the things that you need to just make happen. And you don't want to, I would say Venus in Aries, it doesn't second guess what it wants. It just does it. It knows. And it's not going to ask other people in life to like oh, well, can I have this? No, I want it. I'm going to go define it. I'm going to earn it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to have it. Relationship, whatever it is. There's a lot of energy of that right now. So make it happen on Thursday. It's a big day to do just that for yourself. Mars North Node, like definitely energy that wants you to take a leap of faith for your truth that's going to bring you such an amazing reward. It might not be comfortable. It might feel a little weird, especially coming after all that Mercury stuff with square the nodes and square Mars. Like our mind might be super confused, but sometimes we got to just trust our heart and our instincts and stop trying to analyze everything. Like Mercury and Mercury and Pisces is like, it's like bad science. It's like no hypothesis that makes any sense. Like, so it's almost like if you're just looking for a scientific, analytical understanding of exactly the path you need to go on, well, good luck finding that. Although Mercury and Pisces is also saying if you just channel some divine, some get out of your left brain for a minute and get over to that right brain and find that balance, you'll actually have a really good understanding of the instincts and the intuition that's guiding you. Jupiter day, and we get the moon opposing Jupiter. So it comes back to that empowerment. It comes back to like the win-wins that we want to create with people and how we want to open up the right doors with the right people. But it comes down to connection too. Like we got to connect to people that are also in their empowerment, because there's sort of victim, people, there's going to be victim stuff coming up with Sun Chiron. People are going to be playing the wounded, the wounded soldier, the wounded warrior. And this is definitely a time to empower ourselves. And if we have to, go through times of dealing with wounds this week because Chiron's there and we're going to end the week with a full moon exactly opposing it, like those wounds are empowering, but we can move forward from them. And that's ultimately the empowering part, is to see them, feel them, go through them, but to move forward and to know that we learned something from that. And I would say that that's a big part of like this connection that we might be feeling on Thursday, is just being able to make the decision to move forward into something we want to connect to that's going to open up doors, whether it's people, whether it's just a bigger understanding, but to really, I would say, hold on to our courage and our heart and let that passion drive us in the direction that we want to go for something, unique and better for ourselves. Come to Friday, Venus Day, and Venus passes the Sun. So we are going to start to see Venus here at this point from now on for the rest of summer. We're going to see the evening star instead of the morning star. We're not going to see it yet because it's still getting burned out by the sun, but that is that transition of Venus passing the Sun. So I was born with an evening star. I don't wake up early enough to see the morning star, so I am very excited on that note just to see Venus in the sky again. It hasn't been since last summer that we saw that. Big day with Mars North Node coming together and Mars passing the North Node. Like, this is sort of your destiny shot to make the changes in your own environment and to act quick and to act fast for your truth, to really step into that light, to make whatever, like if you need to switch something up, like that was the go moment. And with the Sun and Venus and Aries, Mars being the dispositor, like it's quick action, and it's not thinking about it too much with a Mercury here in Pisces. Like we can get lost if we just try and think and analytically figure it out. It's time to act on instincts. It's time to act on the gut feeling. And with the moon in Virgo opposing that Mercury, there's definitely an interesting aspect there. Mercury's all the way over there in Pisces in fall position, and the moon, our feelings and emotions are right there in Mercury's, well, home sign. Some would say exaltation, which is up for debate on many different levels anyways. Not if you're doing traditional astrology, but outer. Never mind. This is definitely trying to get to the understanding of, we want to make these changes in our physical world, but I feel like we're all over the place mentally, and we feel like we have to clean up so much on a day like this, when really, like, that's, you know, that might be what's taking you out of the environment and what you really want to act on instinctually. That's going to bring you a lot of fire and passion and excitement and healing too, with Chiron there. But it's like weighing out emotions or trying to clean up things that don't need to be cleaned up with Mercury and Pisces, like worrying about a bunch of things that don't even matter. So we don't want to worry about the things that matter. We want to clean up the things that are important to our truth and our environment, that's going to make better things happen. We do have the trine over to Uranus, which I think is very good for just a flash of insight into making sure that our routine's based around our true value of something better, and definitely not just getting lost in the void and feeling confused on what emotions to act on. Friday is a day to really empower yourself with beauty on a Venus day. That beauty is the power within you. It is going to make a quincunx to the moon the sun and Venus. But I'm going to quincunx Saturn. So there is a little bit of a yod energy between Saturn, Chiron, and the moon in Virgo. It's definitely, I would say, an interesting aspect of like having the responsibility to heal yourself by making the changes in your reality, but not over analyzing too much with a Mercury opposing this moon, but to act on the instincts, on the intuition. That's actually what's going to make the most sense in your reality. That's going to have you act for the truth. It's not going to be so much what's outside. It's like you kind of want to, like, what really matters and what do you really want to connect to that's going to empower and shift this next year. This is a great week to step into that and find that with this Friday. So we come into Saturday. The moon's going to finish up in Virgo. It's going to pose Neptune, and it's going to trine over to Pluto. It does also, the day previous, it does square the nodes and Mars. So it's an interesting, Friday's definitely an interesting day where you really have to, make this sort of choice in your reality of like, are you going to go into your value system and your empowerment or not? And it's definitely the exciting new change that's going to bridge some gaps, but also going to have more of a clear understanding than kind of getting lost in this universal void or belief. And then, like Saturn's like, just focus on the connections that you really want to have that are going to empower and heal. So that moon moves off of that today on this Saturday, and it opposes Neptune, which can be definitely very foggy, but also very creative and compassionate and intuitive. You could definitely want to help a lot of people out, I would say, in these two signs. Like, there's definitely a service element, but it's like you want to definitely be doing the services that are pure and not just doing them to do them. I would say you want to make sure that it's because you're feeling a lot of empowerment with helping, like not just to do, but like do what you feel called to. Or if it's art, it could be a very artistic day too. And ultimately it's helping transform and shift the emotions into the reality that you would like to have in that sense too. This is such an interesting day because it comes into the full moon on Sunday, and it's like, this is so fascinating. Chiron, Venus, and the sun. There's so much Aries power right now, and how we push and drive and make things happen for ourselves. And we don't want to, get overly compassionate for things that don't make sense in our reality that we really want to act for. And I'm not saying like don't care at all, but make sure that, make sure you check in with your definitely your gut. That's where the real answer is that's where it's really going to be. And we come into Sunday, the full moon. This is very fascinating full moon that we start the year off with. And then Uranus here is quincunx, which I think just adds another layer to it. This is definitely a big time healing full moon. There's a release, I think, of just being in a position where you think that you have to do whatever other people are doing. Like, it definitely brings up relationships with a full moon in Libra. So it's interesting. We have Venus opposing this full moon, and the moon in Venus's home sign. We definitely want to be responsible for the relationships that are really empowering and going in the right direction, that you are, that are just overall pioneering with you, going in the direction, that are fiery, that are passionate for the same sort of truth, which is interesting too with the North Node at 12. I mean, it's making a sextile to this energy, a little wide, but still right there. And even a trine over to the moon. So there's a lot of healing in this full moon, but it's definitely by not just playing follow the leader in life, but, you know, stepping into your empowerment. I would say it's releasing anything that's anything that is, or any relationship or any sort of understanding that's taking you out of your empowerment. Like, that's got to go. And this is that full moon that started in Pisces season. So we haven't come fully into this Aries energy until we get that new moon in Aries in 2 weeks from this Sunday. But this is an interesting one because we want to surround ourselves with empowering energy that's going towards a similar truth, but while still having compassion and love for everybody. Like, it is a great split in the collective on so many different ways right now. And I think this is a big full moon that's going to test us to see if we've sort of gained that wisdom and love and compassion for ourselves enough that we don't have to trick people or convince people into our mission or our truth, but to just be strong and steady in it, release any doubt. I think that there's a lot of doubt that's going to release so that we can ultimately individuate our own value systems and come together and connect with people that see a similar value system and a similar way forward for the world and where it's going. And then Saturn's also going to trine. So it's a very fascinating full moon, because you even get Saturn in a wide sextile to the Sun, Chiron, and Venus. A lot of 8 energy, which is very Saturn too. So there's sort of a karmic release in a lot of ways, but it's also that sort of karmic release that's going to bring out a lot of stability and a lot of like understanding of what you're moving forward in it with your life. I think this is a really beautiful full moon. You know, even in Libra, just in general, it's a very soft energy in Libra. And I know full moons can be pretty intense, but this one's like intense if you're not really stepping into your empowerment and your identity and identifying with the values and the relationships and the people and the truth that you feel called to. And if you're, you know, really just playing follow the leader right now, I think that you're going to feel this one, and you're going to have to find that responsibility within yourself to look in different directions and to individuate and go in a direction that makes more sense to you instinctually and also intuitively, but not so much mentally. And it's interesting, we get, you know, Mercury and Neptune together on this Sunday. It's like you're either definitely understanding the calling and in a sort of spiritual understanding of where you want to be, or you're in an extreme fog and you don't know where you need to sort of hunker down. And you're kind of just like, where's everybody else going? Where's everybody else going? Sorry, the healing's actually in the empowerment that you find within yourself, and to lead by example of empowerment and sovereignty. This is definitely about having that sovereign, at least, you know, mindset that you can get through anything with the help of the divine. If you ask, if you make those connections. So pretty interesting week in the astrology, but it's very empowering this week. If you need to start and move and go in a direction, don't second guess yourself this week. You definitely want to act on your instincts. They're going to guide the way in such a powerful, and it's going to feel attractive with Venus and Aries too. Like you're going to be attracted to certain things, and that's the instincts, that's the pull. And the moon making a lot of aspects and coming through Leo. There's going to be a lot of fire this week too, and you got to put that courage out there to step into that identity that's true to you, that is really feeling like that ultimate value. That's so important. And I think our mind can trick us, and we can see outside sources trick us too and put us into belief systems. But you have to ask yourself if those systems really make sense. And maybe they do. It's such a, it's an interesting time. It's such a split on so many different ways that, there's no right or wrong, but you really want to step into what's true to you and not question that, because that's actually exactly where you're supposed to be. And it's about exploring that more and not going in reverse. It's forward movement here, especially with Cardinal Fire. It's the spark that's going to move you forward through the rest of the year and grow and burn into, hopefully, an amazing and empowering year. But it starts this week with an amazing and empowering week. I love you all very much. Hope you enjoyed this horoscope for the week, this forecast. If you did, please do consider joining the site, www.fixedairmoon.com, for the daily content where I go into these a little bit deeper. And I talk and hang out with you guys. And I truly appreciate everybody that has joined. And if you haven't, I'm happy that you watched here. And I hope you found some value out of this. And I will catch you next week. Peace.